You know, if I have to explain to you how evil government is and how corrupt everything is, then that tells me that you are way too far back and I don't need to talk to you. Just go back and watch basketball. And the second reason is because it's very, very dangerous today. It's very dangerous talking about government in America. You can go to jail for that. You can go to prison for that. And I know people who have actually died because of it. So I don't want to be found in an alley somewhere in Los Angeles with my throat cut, or be taken to Guantanamo Bay and cut your fingers off to torture you, because that's what America is today. You will be killed and or put in prison if you know something about government. Well, the same thing is true, of course, if you live in Chicago and you know something that you're not supposed to know about the mob, and you know the names and the addresses and what happened, and you were there as a witness to it, well, your life is very on thin ice. If they find you, you most likely are going to die and be kidnapped or something, because you are a threat. And they can't deal with threats like that. I mean, you know, the mob will tell you, we feel much better if you're dead, then we can sleep at night knowing you're not going to shoot your mouth off and talk about it. So that's the way government works today in America. If you know something you're not supposed to know, you will either go to prison or you will be killed. You can bet on it. And I'm smart enough to know that after 54 years. I've been told by people in government, so therefore I don't want to talk about anything corrupting government, because the government is far, far, far too far gone. It's frightening now. It's way too late. Should have got out a long time ago. So therefore, I don't think it's very wise for me to talk about government ever again. It's way too late.
No, I completely understand, Jordan. I mean, as you're speaking, I'm thinking to myself, all the work that you have done over the last 50 plus years. Mm-hmm. And here we are today. We can't talk about this stuff.
Yeah, and, you know, wait till somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning knocks on the door and there's 3 officers there with badges and three-piece suits. And they ask you, yeah, are you so-and-so? Yes, come with us. Get in the car. Yeah, wait till that happens at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then you find out, because you've got a big mouth and you talked on the radio about something that has offended the Führer. And in Berlin, he is very, very angry. That's why I don't want to talk about government anymore. I figure if you're an adult, or like over 11 years old, and you don't know what's really in fact going on this earth, if you haven't figured it out yet, and you're an adult, then I figure you're not supposed to know. Because the world is made up of 2 kinds of people, the people who know and those who don't. And those who get it and those who don't get it. And those who don't get it are in the vast, vast majority. And there's a handful of people on the earth who are smart enough, educated enough, spiritually evolved enough to have figured out we are in trouble as a human race. The masters of this world are tyrannical, demonic, depraved, sexual perverts, and murderers. And that's who's running the planet, and you can bet on it. And only people who have been a victim of the mafia, of organized crime, or some kind of a syndicate of mentally deranged murderers will appreciate how scary that can be, because there's no place you can hide. If somebody wants you dead and they're powerful enough to make it happen, they'll find you, and when they do, it may take them a while, but they're not stupid, and they'll figure out where you are. And one day, when you're not expecting it, you're going to be coming out of a restaurant at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're going to be waiting for you. So it's very, very scary knowing something you're not supposed to know, and I'm sure you can understand. So I figure, if you, like I said, if you're of age and you don't understand the severity of where the earth is and what's going on, then that tells me you're not supposed to, and I don't want to talk about it.
No, I completely understand, Jordan. We discuss this every once in a while. We come across material that, rightfully so, it should be out there because people should know. And quite honestly, we have made decisions not to put stuff up on the blog.
Yeah, because, listen, another thing, because of my experience, I have learned that the audience is always interested to hear titillating, fascinating, interesting, inside story. They love it. I mean, I do too. I love hearing, people talking about something they're not supposed to talk about, or what really happened, and they were eyewitnesses to it. It's always very interesting. It's always a mystery. It's very interesting to hear people who know something they're not supposed to know or are talking about it. But I'm smart enough, because I've been in radio for over 45 years, I'm smart enough to know that the audience is very interested in that kind of subject. But I know that 2 weeks from now, the audience, they're looking for something more now that's interesting. And they're looking for more interesting stuff a month from now. But me, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble now. My family's in trouble. My life is in trouble. And now I live in fear because I talk too much. Well, he was a good guest. As a guest, he was great because he held everybody's attention talking about things you're not supposed to know. But now I'm in trouble, not you. You can sleep at night, and everybody else in the audience can sleep at night because it was just me talking. But somebody's going to pay for what happened, and it's going to be me. And I've decided at 74 years old, not me. I'm not talking about anything that I know. And I know stuff that'll blow your mind, that I've been there, I was a witness to, and I saw it. But I'm not about to open my mouth. I'll take it to the grave with me.
How long has this been going on, Jordan? How long has it stepped up for you? Or, I mean, has it always been there, or you're seeing the pressure escalating on you now?
No, I'm seeing the pressure escalating now as the end time comes, as it now begins to unfold what's really been going on from day one, that I was just getting the remnants of. I was just getting a little inkling of back in 1959 and 60. But I was getting understanding back in 1959 and 60 of a concept, of an idea. But I wasn't face to face with the reality. I was studying it as history. Yeah, well, you could sit all day long and watch documentaries on television or read books about the mafia, about assassinations and about killings or whatever. Some really scary thing, but it doesn't scare you. It's interesting and important to listen to, but it's not scary. Unless, of course, you know something and you talked about it on radio about some guy who killed somebody and he's in town and you just talked about him on radio. Yeah, now you got some serious problems, because it's not only fascinating and interesting and important to what to listen to, yeah, but you're the one that shut your mouth up. You're the one that's going to pay, because he knows where you live. You got a whole new world looking at you. From here on out, your life is finished. You talk too much. And so that's where I am. And I'm tired of it. At 74 years old, I don't want to be kidnapped. I don't want to be murdered. I don't want to be found in a alley like so many people have been. And they will tell you that I committed suicide by stabbing myself, shooting myself in the back of the head 4 times. I committed suicide. No, I don't want that. 74 years old, I don't want to be tortured, murdered, or found dead in an alley somewhere, or taken to a warehouse and put to death. No, I know what's going on. I know who these people are. I know what they're doing, and I know where America's going. I know too well what's really going on and who these people are and where it's going. I've been looking at it for over 54 years. So I'm scared of my country. I'm frightened. It's scary to me.
Well, it is very scary, and for those that are paying attention to what's going on, it's extremely worrisome. Unfortunately, there's only one ship, and we're all in it, right?
And we're all in it.
We're all in it. So it's not, all the people that are dumbbells, right? They're going to take the ship down, and we're all going down with it.
That's it. How many times have I said that publicly when people tell me, well, there's a light at the end of the tunnel and people are waking up? Well, that's what you do if you're in Pelican Island or Alcatraz. You wake up in the morning, but when you wake up, you find out where you really are. You were having nightmares, but it's nothing like you're going to have when you wake up, because you're going to live the nightmare now. So just because you're waking up, it doesn't mean you're through. No. You're waking up in a prison. You should have woke up a long time ago. So now you're waking up, it's way too late. light at the end of the tunnel. There's a train coming. Well, I hate to be the one but somebody's got to tell the truth. And the truth is, we are finished as a human race. Period. It's over. Period. End of sentence. Because you've got 7.5 billion people on the earth. And there's only a small, tiny fraction of a fraction on the earth who's got enough brains to figure out where the world is going. And it's like anything else. The people at the top of any criminal organization, the people at the top of any secret society are very, very powerful, very intelligent, and incredibly unscrupulous. And they will do whatever it takes to cover themselves and to protect their gang. So if you're dealing with the mafia and you're dealing with somebody who's a godfather in a mob or a hitman in a mob, you're dealing with some very scary stuff. And if they find out who you are and what you know, no thank you. I don't want any part of it. I've been there and I know.
The scary part, Jordan, is that this matrix that's in place is so pervasive. It has every angle covered.
You got it right. That's exactly right. And that's why I say there is no hope for human race, period. It's covered. As far back as 1848, we were in trouble without, there was no coming back in 1848 to 1849. Go back and look at that year and see what was happening in America and around the world, especially England and America. And see what was going on and see what happened in 1871 and 1871 to 1918. And once you begin to see how the world was actually working and how it actually in fact worked, as far back as 1871, America was finished, through, done, it's over. We had a civil war. When you have one half of a country taking up arms against the other half of the country, you don't have no country. You don't have a country. The country is finished. If you get hundreds of thousands of people in America today taking up arms and going out and killing hundreds of thousands of other Americans, you got a problem here. And it's not, you don't have a problem, you don't have a country. You got a problem. This whole thing is imploding. It's called the Civil War. And more people died in the Civil War, that uncivil war. Hundreds of thousands of Americans murdered other hundreds of thousands of Americans. And there was a legitimate, de jure, real war where people were being murdered, hung upside down, throats cut, and incredible stuff. So when it was all over in 1870s, when it was finally over, there was no United States of America anymore. That's what the Supreme Court said. It is over. It was a good idea back in 1776, and by 1840 it don't work, and by 1848 it's over, finished. And then we went into a civil war, and after that, bloodshed, mockery of the human race, and killing and murdering. When we came out of it, the United States of America as a republic, as a place of freedom and peace and justice, it's gone. That's spelled Gone. It's left the planet. There is no longer any freedom, liberty, justice, or anything else. There's only now the power elite, the guys at the top who now see, okay, we finally got rid of that bunch of morons that call themselves free and independent. You're not independent or free. The mob runs this town. You need to wake up and find out. So what I'm saying is that it reminds me, the situation we're in today reminds me of being in a little town in Gotebo, Oklahoma, where there's 250 old people retired in some little Mickey Mouse town. And you've got the sheriff, who is like Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith show, and Hell's Angels, all 460 of them, pull into town with guns, and they take over the town. Well, there's only 400 old people in the town, and you got Barney Pfeiffer as a representing the law, and you got 460 thugs that pull into town on motorcycles, and they don't give a damn about your country, about your city, or your law, or nothing else. They've taken over, period. You don't like it, come outside and say something about it. And if they take over your home and they murder your child or rape your daughter, what are you going to do about it? There's 460 of them, and there's only 200 of you. What are you going to do about it? So that's why I understand that's what's happened. That's what's happened to the world, and that's why I am not about to go on any further and try and challenge them. There is a time in the world when you figure out what's really going on. Like I said, if you haven't figured out what's going on now, son, you're in serious trouble. You better take whatever money you got now and get your wife and children out of this country, because they're coming for you. They're on their way, and they're in power, and they are not playing games. This is deadly. So therefore, that's my feeling, as what has happened in America is deadly, it's frightening, and I know where it came from. I know what it's doing now, and I know where it's going. So we can just talk about playing games about being Republican and Democrat and Peace and Freedom Party and all that. But when the end of the day, I'm going to be right. And a lot of people are going to look back on these days and say, well, Jordan was right. It was over. We just didn't see it. Well, wake up, son. I was there where you are now 54 years ago. I'm just telling you, we are in trouble big time. But, however, having said that, I would go on to suggest that the whole earth is in far bigger trouble. Because not only is the mob the highest, most powerful, evil syndicate in the world taking over our beloved country, but now the whole earth is in trouble. We got over 7 billion people who have an IQ of 40, who all they know how to do is reproduce, drink their beer, watch basketball, go on their outings, and continue to play their games while the food supply is being poisoned, the air is being poisoned, your education is poisoned, your whole systems of justice is poisoned, the entire superstructure of Western civilization is crumbling under your feet, and we're watching the end of the Roman Empire, and people are still watching Bugs Bunny. So I know, as a civilization on the earth, the human race is finished. So if you know anything about God, you better be talking to him, because we have had it. The human race is getting ready to mutate. There's a coming new age coming, the age of Aquarius. There's a war in heaven, like the Bible says in Revelation. A war broke out in heaven. What do you think that's talking about? It's talking about a war in heaven. Star Wars. What do you think that's all about? The Star Wars is a war between the stars of Pisces and the stars of Aquarius. And they're fighting for power. Pisces has been in power for about 1700 years. It's got another 300 years to go, and it doesn't want to go. And Aquarius is coming in about 350 to 400 years, and it wants to take over. It's like a baby being born. It's coming whether you like it or not. It's way too late. It's 9 months, and that baby's coming. Whether you are ready or not, it don't matter. And so the powers that be in this world know that the age of Aquarius is coming. I don't care what you think of it. It's all that silly astrology. Well, you better go back and do some homework and find out the whole entire world of the masters who own this planet and run this planet for thousands of years have always known stuff in the future. Why? It's because there is something to this idea of a new age. That's a whole subject you could talk about for 8 hours, but I wouldn't bother because most people are not intellectually acumen enough to understand what I'm talking about. I'm just telling you, though, that the entire world of mankind is getting ready to mutate. It's changing. No longer are you going to be living in a world that you were born in. It's over. It's called a new world, period. So what we're looking at now is something that is so frightening, so awesome. Who was it? Wrote 1984, George Orwell.
Right.
George Orwell in England was asked, after that book came out, he was asked, what do you really, in fact, see the world being in the future? I mean, we read your book. We understand basically what you're saying. We can't imagine what it's going to be like. Well, you don't have to imagine. You're in it now. But they asked him back in 1948 when he wrote 1984. That's why they changed the date from 48 to 84. And so they asked him, what do you really think the world is going to be like? He said, I see the world as an iron boot on the face of a child. That's exactly what I see, an iron boot on the face of innocence, on the face of a child. And that's exactly where we are. We as a nation and the people as a whole around the world are like children. We love to watch Bugs Bunny and all kinds of cartoons and silly little sitcom shows and go to the baseball game and little football game. That's what children like to do, play ball. So we go to ball games and watch them bounce a basketball and play ball. And then we drink a beer and have a lot of fun, never for a moment realizing while you're playing games, there are rapists and planners that are planning to rape you. They're planning on destroying you. And so they keep you occupied with beer and with your entertainment and no television and all your silly game shows and movies and all that while they are planning what they're going to do to you. So I know, guy's going to rape a girl. He wants to drug her, get her drunk or something so she's incapacitated. Well, that's why the CIA is bringing in drugs by the millions of dollars a day are coming into this country by the CIA. Why? Because they're working for the Knights of Malta. It's a Masonic order working out of the Vatican to destroy America and destroy the people in it. So as far as I'm concerned, I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly who they are. It took me 54 years to figure it out, but I know where it's going and I know who they are. So as far as I'm concerned, doing something I told you I didn't want to do is talk about government. Well, that's why. As far as I'm concerned, it's my opinion, and you can die in America for your opinion. But my opinion is we're way too far gone. You have no idea in the world who Obama really is. You have no idea in this world who George Bush and the Bush family really are. You don't even begin to understand what banking really is and who your mother and who owns your mother and who owns your father and who owns you and your child. Really, in fact, you don't know. But there's coming a day when this country and the people of this country will find out, but it's a little too late. So that's why I've had enough. I understand what's going on, and I'm frightened to death because I know what's coming for America.
Now, Jordan, how much runway do you think is left before we hit that wall? A year, 2 years, 5 years? I know it's an opinion. Probably,
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, the world is finally beginning to awaken. See, I understand what Mao Zedong did in China when he took over. When the communists took over China, he pulled a trick on the Chinese people. He had all of his top communist leaders that were put into power throughout all of China. They were all communists on his side. And what he did is he ordered all of his top communist leaders in all the major cities in China to purposely go out and start bad-mouthing him. All of his top leaders were going out and talking about Mao being a criminal, and he's lazy, and he's stupid, and he's done all kinds of criminal activity. Well, the people of China knew that. Hell, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure that out. And so the people knew that was true, but they were scared to death to say anything. So they just go along to get along because the dictator will murder you if you say anything. So Mao had his people that he appointed go out and badmouth him and call him names. Well, when the people saw that the leaders of the Communist Party were exposing Mao for what he really is, and everybody knew it, they felt safer because it seems like the whole country now is awakening up and it's and they want to stand up for what they believe and say yes, it's true. And so they started joining their leaders and agreeing with them. Well, that's just what Mao Zedong wanted. That's what he wanted. He wanted to know who's harboring in their heart, who is actually, in fact, knows who I am and knows that I'm a criminal. I want to know who the smart ones are and who the dimwits are. So if you don't know and you're a dimwit, that's fine. But if you're joining in with my people who are bad-mouthing me, that's what I wanted to know. Now I know who you are. And now I know what you're thinking. And now I have Facebook and my page and all these other social networks. The word social gives us the foundation for socialism. Socialism, if you look it up in the dictionary, is called the common man or communism. So it's communism, socialism. It's bringing the people together all in one place under one computer to make sure that there's going to come a day when they're going to know exactly who you are. They know exactly what you look like. They've got your address and phone number, and they know exactly who you're meeting with and who your friends are, because your friends have put their pictures on the web with you. And so there will come a day, and it's coming soon, when there will be a roundup. People don't realize freedom is not free. It's over for America, period. And that's my opinion. I know what's going on. And I'm telling you, America's finished. We're finished as a human race. And there's no possible way you're going to get anything to change. Not going to happen. So if you know God, you better start talking to him. And don't go to the churches and the synagogues and the mosques, because those were all founded by the Illuminati. The masters who run this planet gave you your Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and all your other silly-ass bull crap television shows, entertainment, your basketball, football, ping pong ball, kicker ball, soccer ball, softball. All of it is a big ball game. Yeah. And that's why on all the television shows and football, especially basketball, they will always show you in America all the movie stars and the president and everybody's out there, and the president throws the first ball at the World Series, and you see the movie stars there at the basketball. Every time it turns around, they'll zoom in on some movie star at the basketball game, or some politician, and Henry Kissinger's there at the football game. And that's the same thing I went through when I was a little kid. When my dad was having adults over, and they brought their children, all the kids came over with their parents. After dinner, my dad would tell all the kids, go out and play ball. And I remember telling him, I'm not interested to play ball. I'm male like you. I want to sit in the front room with the men and hear what they're talking about, because I know what you're doing. I'm not stupid. I may be young, but I'm not stupid. I know you want me to go out and play ball because you want to talk about something that men talk about in private, and I am a man. I want to hear what you're talking about. I want to know what you're really talking about when I'm out playing ball. I'm not stupid. Well, this is the same idea that happened. I remember my uncle, who all the kids loved. He was sensational. He was great with children, with kids. He would say, I want to go out and play with the kids. Now we want to go out because we love him. So we'll go out and play ball with my uncle. And then, of course, some of the other men will come out and they'll play also. So now the kids are happy because we got the adults on our side now. They're playing ball with us. And then one by one, the adults, of course, they're tired. They want to go in. And one by one, they go back in. And ultimately, we're out there now, we're playing, and so they're good. They let us into playing ball. Why? Because they went out to play ball with us. And then a couple of minutes later, they're back in, and we're now involved in the ball game. Very, very clever. But I'm not stupid. I figured it out even as a kid. Where did all the men go? They were out with us 5 minutes ago to play with them. They all went back in. Well, by that time, all the kids are into playing ball, and they don't care anymore. Well, I care. I noticed. And so it began to appear to be that at the basketball games, you see the president out, he's throwing the ball, or Henry Kissinger's there with one of his mafiosi friends, and they're watching the game. So we think, boy, all the big politicians, they're like us. They want to go to the ball game. No, they're just leading you into your stupidity. Because propaganda does not deceive you. It helps you to deceive yourself. You need to wake up and find out who owns this country and what's going on with this country and where it's going. And when you do, you're going to find out you're in serious trouble. I hope I haven't offended anybody.
No, Jordan, everything you're saying. I mean, we research this stuff all the time. We are involved in trying to expose a lot of this stuff. We take a look around at what's going on in the country today, with all the NSA, the spying, the police state. We have the local cops shooting dogs.
That's right, and tasering children with tasers.
Yes, I mean, and it's unbelievable.
Freedom is one ball of wax. Either we're all free or there's nobody free. So just because you're in the gang, you join the gang in the jail and the prison, and you join the gang, now you don't have to worry about the gang bothering you because you're one of the gang. Oh, really? Do you know how many gang leaders are murdered by their own fellow gang members? If they find out that you are not fully with them, and if you decide you don't want to do something the gang wants you to do, you're a dead man, and you're a part of it. So the only way you're leaving is like Jim Jones told his people in South America, the only way you're leaving here is in a box. You're in, whether you like it or not. So if you're in the mafia and you've been a made man, the only way you leave this world is in a box, son. Period. So that's where we are today on the earth. The whole human race has got an IQ of 40. We're out there watching our silly games, and in Europe, they have no idea in the world what's going on. Africans have no idea in the world. They think all that terrible stuff of slavery back in the 15, 16, 1700s, slavery. Are you kidding? The whole world is a slave today. So,
that's the whole thing. I mean, it's amazing that the whole planet, it's just not this country, the entire planet.
That's what I'm saying. The whole planet. You're going to see the whole earth changing, mutating. Where every country you go, they're going to be militarized with tasers and guns and machine guns, and they're called the police. They're called the authorities. And if you don't have your ID and you're in good standing, you're in trouble. And there's no place to run. It's everywhere. They live. The idea, Hollywood's been telling you for years. They make movies about this. How many movies back in the 40s and 50s they would tell you in sci-fi movies? They live. And body snatchers. They can't take you in the original Body Snatchers. Go back and watch it. It was all about the takeover of the human race. And when they come in, and what was it, invaders from Mars, when they would capture somebody or kidnap someone, they put a needle in the back of their head with some kind of a transponder, and therefore your father is no longer your father. He's a tyrant. Your mother is no longer your mother. She's a mentally deranged. They go to secret meetings now, and there's nobody to turn to. I mean, my God, Hollywood's been giving us these movies for years. And so they've been telling you something. I told you, that's what Hollywood does. The masters of this world own Hollywood. And what Hollywood is all about is they tell you what your masters have done in the past, what they're doing now, and what they're getting ready to do. That's what Hollywood's all about, to explain to the world where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. Now they're making movies about zombies, Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean. Go back and look at that Pirates of the Caribbean. You better find out what that's all about. ABC and Disney Studios today, Disney would turn over in his grave if he saw what was going on with his beloved studio that he fought so hard to build for children and for the world. And today it is a center for communist activity, Marxist-Leninist communist activity, MGM, Warner Brothers, Universal Studios. All of this is just astounding. I've lived in Hollywood. I know it. I know the people. I know who they are. I know what they're doing. I can take you to two places in Los Angeles right now where they still have human sacrifice. One's up on Coldwater Canyon where they still have human sacrifices. So I know what's going on in LA. I know who these people are. I know how far gone it is. You've got to wake up and find out we are in serious trouble. So the smart thing to do, like most of the people who know, is keep your mouth shut while the rest of the people are drinking their beer and partying and have no idea in the world what's coming. It's on its way, and it's here. They're all members of secret orders and secret societies and sexual rituals and child sacrifice, and incredible. Yeah, I mean, I could go in for hours and tell you about this stuff. People say, well, Jordan sounds like he's got a bad attitude. Bad attitude? No, let's just assume I'm smarter than you are. Let's just assume that I've been around for a long time in places you don't even know exist. I've been in the company of people who are running this planet, and I know what's going on. So I don't have a bad attitude. I'm telling you the truth. And that's one thing the world cannot handle, is being told the real truth. Well, the real truth is you're in trouble. The whole world is in trouble. Let me tell you something. The people, human race, all people want the best. If you're going to buy a car, you want the best car you can get for the money. If you're going to buy a house, you want the best. If your child is dying and you need a doctor, you don't want some hillbilly doctor. You want the best because the child's life is in danger. If you're going out to a restaurant, you want to eat the best. People want the best in everything. They may not get it, but they would rather have the best that they can afford and the best they can find in anything. You don't want to buy a bum car knowing it. You want to buy the best you can get in anything. Well, people like the best actor or the best dancer or the best talk show host or the best of this and the best of that. And we put a big prize on that where people wear badges and wear strips and all kinds of accolades for the people who are the best in their field, the best baseball player, etc. So people always want the best in everything except one place. And that is in religion and government and the way that they live. They don't want the best there. They want the best in Hollywood. They want the best in entertainment, the best in food, but they don't want the best to tell them the real truth of what your wife really is, what your children are really into that you don't know, what's really going on at the high school that you have no idea in the world. So you go to your silly football games and watch the coach out there and everybody is dying to be with the coach and they're watching the football game, never realizing for a moment what the coach of the football team is really all about. Yeah, so I'm just saying, well, you better wake up and find out and smell the roses. Where this world is now, you have no idea in the world how far gone it really is.
Now, Jordan, do you think these families at the top, these bloodlines that go back some to Babylon, what's your take on the theory that some of them aren't fully human, that they might be hybrids?
Oh, I'm totally assured that. Totally. That's my opinion again. This whole thing and this whole program is my opinion. So if I die because of it, remember, you die because of it, giving your opinion. But in my opinion on that subject is there's no doubt whatsoever in my mind, period, that what we're talking about, the people who run this planet, in fact, are not human. And I have a lot of reasons. I can't prove that to you in a court of law. It's my opinion. Right. But I can tell you why I think that and give you the reasons why I think that. But I can't prove it. But it's my opinion. I'm sure that the people who are running this planet, you will never know. You will never hear who they are, and you will never see them. And let me tell you something. You don't want to see them. You don't want to know who they really are. So when I hear David Icke talking about reptilians and the royal family, I'm the one that brought David Icke to America back in 1992. I'm the one that brought him here. Nobody in America had ever heard of him. I'm the one that brought David Icke to America. And I remember talking about reptilians to him over dinner. And I was talking about reptilians a long time ago. I've never personally, in fact, in my life saw a reptilian alien. But there's no doubt in my mind that they exist. Why? because I have talked to too many people around the world in different countries that I've traveled in to speak. I have talked to way too many people, and each time they are well-grounded, highly intelligent, mature, otherwise trustworthy people, airline pilots, military people, very spiritually minded people, ordinary people in ordinary jobs talk to me in private and tell me about their personal one-on-one experience with aliens and reptile aliens. Well, being the kind of person I am, if I hear that over and over and over again from people who don't know me or anybody else I know, are telling me personal experiences that is exactly what I heard 10 times before, 15, 20 times before. I've heard the same, almost identical description, the same identical scenario. I've got to begin to feel there's something going on here, because I've heard this too many times in too many places by too many people who don't know each other. So logic alone would tell me there might be something to it. So that's why I was talking about the reptilians before David Icke knew anything about it. But that doesn't mean I actually saw one. But it wouldn't surprise me, because I'm sure these people I've talked to over the years are not stupid. They're very intelligent people. They're very well grounded. They're not given to stupidity. And the ancient peoples and the ancient ones from Sumeria, Babylonia, Phoenicia, Canaan, the Hittites, all the ancient Egyptians, all these ancient cultures talk about reptilian gods, the reptile gods. And in Genesis 1, with Christians and Jews looking at the Bible, it was a serpent in the garden. Look up the word serpent, you will find it's a reptile. And the reptile was told finally to crawl on its belly. As a reward for doing what it did, God said, crawl on your belly now. Well, that implies it wasn't crawling on its belly when it was talking to Eve, but now it has to crawl on its belly. What are you talking about? That the reptile talked to Eve, and then because God found out about it, he told the serpent, now for doing what you've done, crawl on your knees like a snake. And that's why we refer to people like that as snake in the grass. He's a snake. He's a snake in the grass. Why? Because he's a reptilian, a liar, someone who misleads you. So I'm looking at this, and I'm putting all this together after almost 54 years. I'm putting all this together, and it's called pattern recognition. I've been looking at this stuff for a long, long time, and I've heard all the stories going all the way back into the early 60s, before the assassination of John Kennedy. The day John Kennedy was assassinated, I was in Los Angeles, in East Los Angeles, giving a lecture at that hour in the morning, giving a lecture about secret societies and world religion, the cults and the secret groups out of Europe that are behind our world religions, the day Kennedy was shot. So I was talking about the secret orders and secret societies and assassination plots back in 1960. So I already understood a long time ago. I mean, I can tell you more stuff that would put my life in danger right now that I know. So that's why, I'm very unhappy with the world I live in. Just my opinion, but my opinion is very simple. I don't think there's hope in hell for the human race, period. Because even if the human race were to wake up, what are you going to do about it? If you're in prison and you find out that who the gang leaders are, or in Chicago and you find out something you're not supposed to know about Capone and the mob, all right, suppose you know. Now you know what they're doing, and now you know that they run the city government, they run the mayor and all of that, and they kill people, and they're raping, and they're selling children and all that. So now that you know that, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to go to the government. They are the government, airhead. They are the mayor, the police chief. They're all on the take. So what are you going to do about it? Well, the smart thing is to shut your mouth and get out of town, because they know that you know. And they run the town, period. They are the police department. They are the mayor. So that's why, I don't hold out much hope for the human race. I don't even mind at 74 years old. My heart is very bad. I've gone through hell in my life. I've been frightened for many, many years because I know things I'm not supposed to know. I've already been approached by federal officials flashing their badges. I've already been talked to at 3 o'clock in the morning by federal agents standing out beside my door talking to me. I already know what's going on. I already know how far gone it is, and I'm scared. But the only light at the end of the tunnel personally for me is that I'm 74 and my heart is very bad. I got a very bad heart and I know it. And my lungs are very bad. I can hardly breathe. I'm getting old at 74 and I know I'm not going to be here much longer. Thank God. Because what's coming on this earth, I don't want to be here. So I thank God that my mother and my father are gone. My brother, I watched him die. He weighed about 60 pounds when he died of cancer, laying there dying. I've seen my friends die. I've seen good people thrown into prisons, good men dying for doing something for their country. All I can say is I am happy and delighted. My heart is gone. My life is over. I've lived a full life. I've seen things that most people have never seen, will never see, and don't want to see. And so I'm happy to go. Thank God. I will be leaving soon. Nightly, I ask the Great Spirit to allow me to go to sleep and not wake up, because each morning I wake up, I'm very, very depressed. You have no idea how absolutely demoralized and depressed I am at living on the earth today, because I know where we're going. I know what's happened. I'm smart enough to know that if you get 7 billion people collectively got an IQ of 40 and nobody can do anything, and the guys who are in control of the mob are in control, it's frightening. It's scary. You think that Islamic terrorism and the Catholic, the Christian terrorism, you better go back and look at the Renaissance. Go back into the 12th, 13th, 14th century in Europe and look at the inquisitions of the Roman Catholic Church, where they used to pour hot lead in the mouths of little children and let the family watch them as they poke the eyes out of their children. You better go back and watch what the Catholic Church has done to the human race. You better wake up and find out who the Pope really is. You better go back and check the Roman Empire with Caesar, with Tiberius and Augustus Caesar, and what the Roman Empire really was. And what the symbols and emblems of the Grecian Empire and the Babylonian and Sumerian and Hittite Empire, what those symbols really meant. Yeah, you better go back and do some homework and find out we are in trouble big time and there's no way out. Period. I've done something I said I didn't want to do. I'm talking about government. But I'm old enough now, I feel I'm going not to be here not much longer, so I might as well tell you the truth. The truth is, people have I started to tell you before, and I'll end it with this. People want the best. But the one place they don't want is the truth. Let me tell you something. The New Testament is a profound document. The story of Jesus is absolutely pregnant with profound wisdom and knowledge, but it's hidden. It's a metaphor, a symbolic metaphor. There's nothing historical in the New Testament. I am totally convinced. I've only looked at this for 50 years. I've heard all the stories. I am totally convinced no man named Jesus ever existed. I know for a fact that no man, King David, King Solomon, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, none of these people existed. That's why the Bible is called the greatest story ever told. It's a story, but it is an encoded, highly, incredibly important story that's encoded. And if you don't know how to read the symbols, if you haven't studied the occult or esoteric symbolism in the ancient world and in the Middle Ages, then you're never going to understand what's really hidden right in front of you in the Old Testament and the New Testament story. But I believe that the New Testament story is a profound hidden story. And I'll give you an example. Jesus said, I am the truth in the light. And no man comes to the Father unless he comes through me. It's a metaphor. It's a symbolic story telling you something. Jesus said, I am the truth and the light. Therefore, anything that would happen to Jesus would happen to the truth and the light in this world. Anything that was said to Jesus is what would be said to the truth and the light in this world. Anything that Jesus did is what the truth and the light would do. So if you take the story of Jesus as a metaphor for the war between light and darkness, between intellectual, spiritual enlightenment and the stupidity of the human race, then you will begin to understand the metaphors and the symbolic stories in the Bible as a metaphor. Jesus represents the truth and the light. And what happened to him, he said, the slave is no greater than the master. What they've done to me, they will do to you. Meaning the truth has always been spit on. Always, the truth is always spit on, lied about, and hung on a cross to die. The truth and the light has always been the enemy in this world. It is today. If you know the truth, you better shut your mouth, because you're going to jail. You know, if you go back and look at the story, if we have a couple of moments, if you go back and look at the story, I'll give you some of the metaphors. For the first time, you can understand what the scripture is actually saying. There's an account in the New Testament about Jesus when the leader, I think it was Pontius Pilate, the leader of the city came out and said, according to the custom, your custom, once a year I can release one prisoner. So today I am going to release one prisoner, but it's up to you. It's your custom, not Rome. It's your custom to release one prisoner a year. So I'm going to honor that custom. Rome wants to honor your religious custom. So I will release one prisoner. You tell me who you want released. I have two prisoners here. One is called Barabbas. Barabbas, everybody knows, is a criminal. He's a liar, a thief, a murderer. He's a criminal. Career criminal. On the other hand, we have a man named Jesus. And he represents the truth and the light. Which one do you say you wish? Which one do you want? And the Bible says with one voice, there was no discussion, with one voice, the whole town said, give us Barabbas. What is being said there is that when the whole town, the whole city, or the whole state, the whole country, the whole world, that's the point, the whole town, when the whole world is faced with picking one or the other, the truth and the light, or a known criminal, a murdering, lying, thieving criminal, the world will always say in unison, give us Barabbas. Give us the thief and the murderer and the pimp and the whore. We don't want the truth and the light. The real truth is your country's gone and you're finished. Thank God I'm 74 and I'm leaving here. But pray to God. If you know anything about God, you better pray to him, because we are in serious trouble on the earth, period. America's just getting there first, because we've always gotten there first. So what is happening to America is coming for the whole world. The reviving of the Prince of Darkness, the last days, the end times. It's here. Wake up. And you are going to be in the middle of it, and your children and your children's children, your grandchildren are going to live in a world that you can't even begin to imagine. You have no idea of the world what's coming for your children and your grandchildren. So just go on back and watch your basketball and drink your beer, and one day what goes around comes around. You're going to find out what freedom was all about. You never know what you've lost till it's gone. Well, let me tell you something, America, it's gone. It's over. There is no longer freedom, liberty, or justice in the world. Like the judges will tell you, there is no justice, there's just us. So today, we are in trouble. Government's out of control. The laws are corrupt. money's corrupt, your banks own you and they're corrupt.
The work that you've done has been unbelievable. And the light that you have shed on the truth has been an enormous contribution. Because even though things are going where they're going, there are many people like myself who appreciate very, very much your work.
Thank you.
You really, really need to know that, Jordan, because seriously, you have opened the eyes of many, many people.
Well, I appreciate it. But I'm not beating my own drum, but I will tell you, I paid a hell of a price for it. I've lost my wife, my family. I lost everything I own. For the past 35 years, I've been fighting people who steal from me, who've taken my work, who take my money, who've taken my website. The people of America and the world have no idea in the world where all of this is going. So when I read in the scriptures the metaphor that says that Satan is the devil, I know that when you talk about the devil, that's merely putting the letter D in front of the word evil. So therefore, devil, giving us devolution, going backwards. So devil is evil with a D in front of it, devil. And God comes from the same root word as good. So you take an O out of good, becomes God. Well, God is good and the devil is evil. That's just words. But the real story is encoded. It's encoded and it's a metaphor. And it's been there in front of you all the time, but the churches are not interested in the real truth. They don't want you to know what they actually already know. I was told by an FBI agent in 1989, as I still remember it clearly, 1989, I had a little tiny nothing office in Glendale. And I got a phone call from an FBI agent in San Diego. And he introduced himself and he said, "This is not business, this is a social call." And I said, "Give me your name," which he did. "Where are you?" "San Diego." I said, "I'll call you back." And I hung up. Then I called information to get the FBI number in San Diego. I got it. I called the FBI and asked for him, and I got him. So at least now I am not stupid. At least now I have proved to myself he is who he says he is. So then when he comes on the phone, I said, "Okay, now I know who you are. Talk to me." And he said, "I'm just calling. It's a social call. I'm telling you, the FBI is watching you. You're being watched by your government. But as of the moment, right now, you are not considered to be a threat to your government. We know who you are. We know your background. We know where you went to school, where you were born. We know who you are. We don't see you as a threat or a terrorist or anything else." This is back in 1989. And he said, "However, you don't, at this moment, you don't have anything to worry about with your government. We don't see you as a threat. And besides, all you're doing is talking." Well, so if you can talk, you could talk. Nobody's going to say anything about it. "But if you ever get in trouble, and you're in serious trouble, it's going to be by the churches, not your government. The churches are your real enemy, because we in the FBI know certain things for a fact. And one thing we do know in the FBI is that the Christian religion in America is, in fact, a criminal organization." To which I said to him, "Oh, I know it is. I know where the money is going and where it's coming from in the Christian, so-called Christian church in America. Both Catholic and Protestant. I know." And they said, "Yes, we know that you know, and that's why you're going to be in trouble. Because the Christian church in America is, in fact, started a long time ago, hundreds of years ago, by secret societies in Europe to manipulate, exploit, and rip off the masses, and to cause the masses to go in a particular political way that they want them to go. And we know that. We're not stupid. And you know that. That's why you're in trouble. So if anything happens to you, I would think that it's not going to be your government as much as it's going to be the secret societies behind world religion, and especially behind the Vatican and Protestant Christianity. Because the people who are behind Protestant Christianity are the biggest and most incredibly evil criminal syndicates the world has ever known. You better go back and look at the Knights of Malta and propaganda due, P2 Lodge, coming out of the Vatican. And understand P2 Lodge's connection to the Republican Party in America, and who really is the Republican Party, and where did it really come from, and why all the communist countries that were in the world during the 50s and 60s, all the communist countries were all of them referred to as democratic republics. The People's Democratic Republic of China, the People's Democratic Republic of Cuba, the People's Democratic Republic. The People's Democratic Republic, well, that's what we have. We're a republic, and we've got Democrats. Get it? The Democratic Party is the Communist Party, the Social Communist Party. For the best documentation on what I'm trying to tell you, the Democratic Party in America is the Soviet Communist Party. The people who founded the Democratic Party go back into the 1800s. Back into the late 1700s and 1840s, as I said, 1840s, with the coming of the Communist Manifesto and the Democratic Party, democracy. Democracy is the mob rule. Demos in Greek is a mob, and the rule of a mob is ocracy. So it's the democracy, the rule of the mob, the common people. It's called communism or communism. So the Democratic Party is a communist party. The workers of the world, IWW. While the Republican Party is the Nazi Party, the SS and the Gestapo. So it's an incredible story of betrayal that goes back some 300 years into Europe and how the United States was founded. My God, what a story. And believe me, it's way too late. So that's all I got to say. I mean, I don't know where else to go with this, because anything else I say is going to get me even in bigger trouble, because I know already who these people are, I know what they're doing, and I know they've won. I'm smart enough to know the people that I was talking about back in 1959, 60, and 61, before Kennedy was assassinated. I was talking to audiences about the people who were going to destroy my country and take from us our last hope for freedom, liberty, and justice on the earth, for decency and honor, are going to rip us off and destroy our country, and turn around and they killed the president, and nobody went to jail. Nobody went to jail. The guy who supposedly did the killing, he was shot, and the guy who shot him, he was shot, and eventually nobody went to jail for nothing, and it's all gone. They murdered the president of the United States in cold blood, and nobody went to jail, period. And since then, anything and everything can happen, and nobody's going to go to jail. Get the book if you really want to wake up, and you can handle it. Like Jesus said, I don't know if you can handle the truth, but if you can handle the truth, get the book called Fire in the Minds of Men.
Yeah, I have that book, yep.
Yep. And then the guy who wrote it is not a crackpot like Jordan Maxwell. No. He is today James Billington, who is the chief librarian for the Library of Congress. You don't get any more mainstream, in-house mainstream than the chief librarian for the Library of Congress. And he's written 2 or 3 very important books. But the one that you need to get is called Fire in the Minds of Men. And read from the very beginning. He talks about where the Communist Party really came from, where the Republican Party really came from, where America really came from. The chief librarian for the Library of Congress did a book on the real story of how this world really works. It's a fire in the minds of men. Adolf Hitler did not write Mein Kampf. Hitler did not write anything. The New York Times, on the front page of the New York Times, many, many years ago, I still have it saved somewhere, and you can get it on microfiche and microfilm from any good university. Go back and read the article in the New York Times about who actually, in fact, wrote Mein Kampf. It said in the New York Times that the man who wrote Mein Kampf for Hitler was a man named Father Stempel, Stemple, Father Stempel, who was a Jesuit theologian in Germany, who worked connected directly to the British royalty. Father Stempel, Jesuit theologian in the Vatican, Catholic Church, wrote Mein Kampf for Adolf Hitler. It has to do with the Vatican. And what is the Vatican really all about? Well, you might want to look at ancient Phoenician Canaanites, or the people we call the ancient Jewish people. You better go back and look at the word Nazi, N-A-S-I. Look at the word N-A-S-I in a dictionary, and it will tell you the word Nazi is a high priest in Judaism. He is referred to as the chief justice in the Jewish Supreme Court for hundreds of years. The man who sits as the chief justice in Israel and the old Israeli and the old Jewish system, the chief judge for the Jews, was referred to as Nazi, N-A-S-I, Nazi. Go look it up in the dictionary, and it will tell you the correct Anglo-Saxon spelling of Nazi, N-A-S-I, is correctly spelled N-A-Z-I, Nazi. Somebody better wake up and find out and smell the roses. This country and this world is so far gone, so ignorant, so ill-informed and unread and so unintelligible now, that there is no hope for the human race to get out of the mess they're in. Because the one thing that people do not want to hear is the truth. The real truth is that Christianity was developed by mafiosi gangsters in Rome. The real truth is that Jewish religion comes directly from Hinduism, directly from the old ancient secret societies of the ancient world who developed occult teachings that became known as Judaism. Islam is nothing more. Get a book if you want. If you are really interested in Islam, get a book called Moon, M-O-O-N, -O, theism, T-H-E-I-S-M, Moon-O-theism, with a hyphen between the three words, Moon-O-theism. It's 2 volumes, each one about 600 pages. So we're talking over 1,200 pages explaining everything there is to know about Islam, where it actually, in fact, really came from, what it actually, in fact, the symbols really mean. Somebody has done an incredible job of research, 1,200 pages on in-your-face, footnoted facts about Islam and what it really is. And then when you find out that Islam is a corporation on the stock market in London, it's a corporation soul, it's a business, it's a corporation, it's owned by private people. You better wake up and find out all of this stuff is a business. It's all corporation, big money, mafiosis, gangsters, international criminal syndicates, manipulating international money, banking. My God, what a world. What a world we live in. And most people have not spent 54 minutes on what I've spent 54 years on and mocked me in public.
Was there ever a point during your career when you thought, there is hope, we can get this thing turned around? Or was it one of those situations where over the 54 years it was very exasperating?
It's interesting, but I remember distinctly when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, early teens, families, friends would say to me as a kid, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do? And I remember distinctly saying to the people who would ask me, I don't want anything. I don't want to get married. I don't want a home. I don't want new cars. I don't want a home. I don't want anything. Period. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, I don't want anything. I don't know why. I don't understand what I'm saying. All I know is in my heart and in my gut, I don't want to be a part of this world. I don't want anything in it. I'm not interested in marriage and money and new cars. I'm not interested. Period. I don't know what it is I want, but living in this world is not one of them. And I always believed and I always felt that I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I've been brought here. I don't know where I've come from. I have no idea what I'm doing here, and I have no idea where I'm going when I leave. But at least I'm honest enough to say I don't know where I've come from. I don't know what I'm doing. I just do what my heart tells me to do. But all my life I have always known I am not here to live a normal life. I didn't come here to spend my whole time watching basketball, working hard, and getting a gold watch and pleasing my masters and pleasing. I don't care about government. I don't care about your religion. I don't care about your banks. I know the insurance companies that own the banks. Banks are backed up by insurance companies, but you don't know that. So if you want to cry and complain about banks, you better look at insurance companies. And if you want to understand insurance companies, you better go back to 1871 and look at the 14th Amendment. And if you want to do that, then you better go back and find out that there is no United States of America. There's a corporation of insurance companies called the United States Corporation. You better find out how this world really works, not how you thought it worked. And when you find out how this system actually works, you know, in the Roman Empire, they had a sewer. They referred to the sewer in the Roman Empire as a system. We still use that term today, the sewer system. But the word system meant a sewer in Rome. So that's why you have a judicial system, you have an educational system, you have a governmental system, a banking system. Yeah, because what they're telling you is that you're still in the dirty sewer of the pagan world. That's all we are, that's all we've ever been. So you can call yourself Christians and go to church and you have no idea in the world what the church really means. You never really looked at that word church, and you have no idea in the world where the word synagogue comes from and what it really means. It's extraordinarily incredible how much people don't know, how much you buy every day and never suspected for a moment what you were saying, what you were buying into. Let me give you an example. You've probably heard it, but there are other people who haven't, so I'll say it again. The white man, what you call the white man, comes from Europe, north, east, west, and southern Europe. Incidentally, that's what we get our word news, N-E-W-S, north, east, west, south. So if anything happens in north, east, west, or south is news. And so the white man comes from Europe and ultimately came out of Europe to America. We get our word America from a star system called Merica, M-E-R-I-C-A, Merica star system. It's one of those obscure constellations that's not in the zodiac, but there are many constellations that are not in the zodiac. But over North America was a constellation called Merica at July 4th, 1776. And the founding fathers were a lot of things, but stupid wasn't one of them. And they knew all the occult significant dates, times, signs, astrological symbols. They were very, very bright men. And what they were planning was a whole new world order. And so America was supposed to be the new Saturnian system. Saturn was going to be the god of the new system. Go back and read the original documents from 1770s, 1780s. You will see them using the term the Saturnian system, the Saturnian government, Saturn. Saturn, well, that's a whole subject we could get into there. Saturn was referred to in the ancient world as Lord of the Rings. We're still making movies today about Lord of the Rings, and never realizing for a moment what's really going on here, that America represents a Saturnian brotherhood. Saturn. This is why Jews go to their temple, which is called synagogue, and they go there on Saturn's day, which is from Friday night at 6 o'clock to Saturday evening, 6 o'clock. They go to the synagogue to worship Saturn, Lord of the Rings. The Jews in Hollywood are still making movies about their god, Saturn. Men were told to listen to their god, so they would women were told to listen to their god, so they would wear an ear ring. Men were told to get married before their god, so they wear a wedding ring. Wake up, Saturn, Lord of the Rings. International secret societies, Illuminati masters who run the world. And since Europe was the home of the white man, one of them, and even before the Roman Empire existed, there was a white man's establishment in Europe before the Roman Empire. During the Roman Empire and after the Roman Empire, it's still a white man's area of the world. And in that white man's world of Europe, the powers that be, even before the Roman Empire, were called Druids. It was a priesthood called Druids. They were the lawyers, the doctors, the officials in government. They were anything and everything that was important in the white man's world was run by Druids at one time. We still have Druids in England today. Well, you better go back and look at Druidism, because one of the most important symbols in Druidism was a magic wand. Like today, orchestra leaders conducting a great orchestra, you're playing to their tune. He's the boss. Until he waves that magic wand, you don't play anything. So you're playing to his tune. So with that magic wand tells you what you can do and what you can't do. And Jesus, if you go back and go on the web and type in Jesus with a magic wand, and you will see all over Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and Christian churches are statues and paintings of Jesus everywhere with a magic wand. Go back and look at it. Type it in, Jesus, magic wand, and look at all of the paintings and sculptures in Christianity of Jesus healing people with a magic wand. So magic wands were a very powerful symbol in the old European white man's world. Magic wands, according to the dictionary, were made out of the wood of a holly. It's made out of Hollywood. Get it? Once you understand, Hollywood is a white man's symbol for magic in the Druidic world system. That's what we call magic. We call it magic because it goes back to the word magi. All I'm telling you is that the entire world you live in is a magical, de jure, real and legitimate system of manipulation of the human mind, the human world. The human existence on the earth is a magical system. We are all computers. Our brains are a computer. We're a biological electrical system. And anytime you got a computer, you can have Wi-Fi. You don't have to have a connection to a computer. You can get it out of the air like you do radio and television. Well, that's how we are being run. People go into fits. They go into some kind of a spasmodic fit like Muhammad was said to have done. He'd fall on the floor and kick around and spit and slobber all over himself. That's what the history book said. And then when he comes out of it, he would say, God talked to me. They said, well, you've been gone for a while, airhead, on the floor spitting and jumping around. And now what does God say to you? Well, he told me that I got to start a religion and it's going to be called Islam. Now, most people don't know that. People don't know that when you read in the Bible about how prophets saw things and they were given visions by God, something's going on here. I don't doubt for a minute that these things happen. But what does it really mean? When you are sent into a fit and you're laying on the floor and you're spitting up and white foam's coming out of your mouth and you are in some kind of a obvious spell is being put on you. And now how do you develop a word? You spell it. The whole idea of communication is putting the human race under a spell. That's how you use words. You put an S in front of the word word, it becomes a sword. Human race has communications with the dark side. We are being communicated with outside forces, and we're being led down the primrose path to a dark and evil demonic depravity that's coming on the earth. And we are so stupid, ill-informed, unread, and backwards, and pompous and arrogant that we don't want to admit the real truth. We're not in power. We're not in control. There's something out there that's very dark. The Christians call the devil, demon. Jews talk about it. Even the Islamic people, they know about jinns and all the genies and all the demonic depravity. Steven Spielberg talked about the poltergeists and the aliens, close encounters, E.T. What are you talking about, E.T.? Extraterrestrial. Something's going on here on this earth, and the human race is in the clutches of and being led by other world forces, other world demonics, depravity. And we as a human race collectively cannot protect ourselves from ourselves, much less from any invading forces from other worlds. I mean, ask a child, 6 years old, where does God live? And they'll point up into heaven. That's true. God's up in heaven. Yeah. Well, that means God is not terrestrial. He's extraterrestrial. He doesn't live here. Do you believe in angels? Yes. As Jews and Christians and Islam, do you believe in other world things that we call angels or ghosts? Yes. In your religion? Yes. Well, where do ghosts and angels and spirits come from? Well, they're in heaven. That's out there. Well, I got to tell you, if they're out there, they're extraterrestrial. So your God and your angels and your whole spiritual substructure of your religions of the world are all based on extraterrestrial, not of this world.
When we had David Icke on, we got into talking about the evil that permeates this planet, and it is off-planet, unseen forces. And we spoke about the archons.
Yeah. I think that is a very important subject. And the man I like to listen to when he talks about archons, the man I like to listen to is the guy who really has this stuff down. I learned from him. His name is Jay Widener. You need to talk to Jay Widener and have him on the show. If that doesn't set you back a year's growth, nothing will. Jay is an extraordinarily brilliant guy when it comes to what is the alchemy, the archons, the occult significance of words and terms. I learned a lot from him. I have Jay Widener on talking about archons. Yeah, Jay is top of the line. He's not only a long-time dear friend, but he's a brilliant guy, and I've learned a lot from him. Oh, and he's especially good when it comes to Hollywood and the symbols in Hollywood movies and what all that stuff about. Talk to Jay. If that doesn't set you back a year's growth, nothing will. As an older man, I'm angry at the world that I now see. I have grown up in watching it, and I could do nothing about it. I could do nothing about what I saw happening to my country, to my people. I could not do anything about it as a kid, 10 years old. I just, in my gut, knew I don't want anything. I don't know why I don't want anything. I don't want to be a part of the world I live in. I just don't fit. I want to know what's really going on here and who I really am and where I've actually come from and where are we going as a human race. Because even as a kid, I knew something's up here. I don't know. How much time do we have? We have some time?
We have time, Jordan. You can keep going.
Okay. Well, I had an experience, one of 36. I've had 36 major experiences in my life. I have experiences off the wall every day in my life. But I've had 36 of them I wrote down that were mind-blowing to me. I hasten to talk about my experiences because I know people are going to mock me and laugh at me because I'm just being honest and telling you what happened to me. But back in 1990, in Pasadena, I was asked to speak at a UFO conference on Saturday morning. I was supposed to be the keynote speaker on Saturday morning in Pasadena, 1990. And the two guys that were putting the conference on, called me a week before and said, we're going to go over to the hotel and check it out. You want to go with us? I said, sure. So I went with them. And so we're just checking out the hotel to see where everything's going to be and what it's going to look like. And so they asked me, when we were in the big room, it was able to hold 600 people. And they asked me, well, while we're at it, what are you going to do? What are you going to need to do your presentation? Do you need a blackboard or a screen or slide projectors? What do you need to do whatever it is you're going to do? And I said, I don't need anything. All I want is a table and a chair so that I can sit like a teacher in front of an audience with a table so I can lay out all the stuff I want to talk about and have all the documents there on the table so I can read directly from the document. So just put me a table and a chair, and that's all I need. So he said to me, he said, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put a guy on the stage with you sitting on a bar stool behind you, and he's going to have a video camera. We'll put the video camera on you. It might have been 1991, whatever it was. He said, we'll put the video camera on you because we're going to have a closed circuit television for the event, so that when you are talking about an object of whatever or a subject, you've got a piece of paper, hold it up so the guy behind you, sitting behind you with the camera, can zoom in on it. Therefore, the audience can see what you're talking about. So the next Saturday happened, and it went off perfect. That was a good idea. Everyone could see what I was saying. And that evening, when the conference was over, we were leaving. The guy who was sitting behind me on the stage asked me. He said, "Jordan, my wife and I'd like to have you come over for dinner tonight." And I said, "Sure, I don't mind." He lived in Pasadena, and I lived in North Hollywood, not too far away. So I said, "Sure." So we are over at his house, and he and I are in the front room. His wife is in the kitchen fixing dinner, and we're just talking about the stuff of the day. And after a while, his wife comes out of the kitchen, and she looks at him, and she said, "Have you told him yet?" And he said, "No, I wasn't going to tell him till after dinner." And I said, "Told me what? I don't like surprises." And he said, "Well, I wasn't going to tell you till after dinner." He said, "I'll tell you something that my wife has heard me tell many times over the years. All my friends have heard this story. Now I want to tell you." He said, "When I was 17, I just turned 50 years old, just recently. When I was 17, I was thumbing my way in back east in New England states. I was thumbing my way north on a summer day, going up to stay with my cousin. And an old man picked me up in a pickup truck, and he said he was very, very old. And the pickup truck was even older than he was. And he said, but when I got in, he started telling me every single thing about my family that he knew exactly correct. Everything he knew about my sister, her boyfriend, my dad, his partners in business, my mother's sister. There was nothing this old man did not know exactly correct. And he said that was scary hearing this old man tell me my whole life. And he said, and then when he let me out, he said, all that I have told you up till now was to entertain you and get your attention. Now I'm going to tell you something important. After you're 50 years old, you're going to be on the west coast of this country. And one morning, you're going to be sitting on a stage with a man sitting at a table and a chair in front of a large audience of people. And he's going to be talking about religious and political conspiracies. Now, when you find yourself, you're going to be sitting on the stage with him with a camera that does not exist today, but it will exist then. And you are going to be working with that camera, sitting on the stage with him, behind him, so that whatever he's talking about, your camera will show the audience. Now, when that happens, you tell him, I put him on that table. I'm the one that had him sit there and do that and put you behind him with the camera. You tell him, I did it. That was my idea, not his. So when you get to be 50 years old, you're going to be on the stage with a man sitting behind him with a camera. You tell him, I put both of you there. So when he told me that, that scared me. And I got up and I left the house. And I was close to tears because the impact was so frightening to me. And he came out and walked with me on the sidewalk at night and saying, well, I had to tell you. The old man told me to tell you that, and I was trying to figure out, what does this mean? Somebody over 30 years ago, told him I was going to be sitting at that table this morning. What is the implications of that? I have no idea. I don't even know what's going on here. All I know is that as an early childhood, I have always known there was something that I had to do. There was something I was here for. And I realized, as Jesus said in the metaphor in the Bible, Jesus said, the slave is no greater than the master. What they have done to me, they will do to you. Well, that is exactly right. For the most part, my name, my life, and my work has been ridiculed, lied about, misrepresented, chided, made fun of, to the point that I've lost everything, and I've become the laughing stock of the world. But I'm going to have the last laugh, because I'm leaving here soon. And whether I'm alive on the other side or not, I will guarantee you what's coming for the people who are left. It's not going to be very pretty. People talk about the coming age of Aquarius. I know something about astrology. And I know it's real. And I know the age of Aquarius, it does not even get here for another 400 years. The age of Pisces didn't even start till about 325 or 326 AD, which 2,150 years from 3,225 puts the age of Aquarius coming in at about 400 years or more, 425 years from now. So I don't see the age of Aquarius on us now. No, it's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. The sun is just now beginning to dawn on people. So now it's finally dawning on people. Something is happening. Like the kids were saying with their rock song, something's happening over there. Better beware. Something is changing. Star Wars. Yeah, there's a whole world is changing, and there's nothing anybody's going to do about it. The war broke out in heaven. The war between Pisces and the incoming dark demonic age of Aquarius. It's not here yet, but this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It's not here yet. You better thank God it's not here, because what's coming in Aquarius, you don't want to know. The whole world of masters around the world are preparing for the age of Aquarius. That's why they've got concentration camps, armies. We got human race that are made into robots and brainless people. The whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one, like the Bible says. The entire world is lying in the power of the wicked one. Well, that's the damn truth. The entire human race is now owned, controlled, and manipulated and exploited by the most evil, dark forces the world has ever known. It's written in Scripture. These are the last days. The last days of what? The last days of Pisces. And God help you, because the coming of the age of Aquarius is going to be a horrible experience. You have no idea in the world what's coming in Aquarius 400 years from today. But it's starting now. You're just now beginning to see the beginnings of the coming of the age of Aquarius. Concentration camps, lies, deception, pornography, drug addiction. You have no idea in the world what the Illuminati masters who own this planet, what they've got planned for the human race. And there's nothing we're going to do about it, because we don't even begin to understand what we're talking about. But one day, it's going to come around, and when it does, your grandchildren are going to live in a world that you cannot even begin to perceive how bad it's going to be. There will be no more caring about your loved ones and your mother and your father and taking care of the old people. No, older people will be taken care of instantly. They'll be given a pill and they're gone. Your children will be in the military. There will be no more humanity, period. It's called transhumanism. Even before the Communist Party, what was his name? They were working, Pavlov, Ivan G. Pavlov, and A.R. Luria. Look up those names, A.R. Luria and Ivan G. Pavlov were working on dogs. and understanding how to manipulate dogs, how to manipulate animals, and now how to manipulate the human brain, the human mind. So that's where we are today. The whole human race is an experiment. Go watch movies like Island of Dr. Moreau. Watch the last movie that Marlon Brando made, Island of Dr. Moreau. What are you talking about? An Island of Dr. Moreau. Well, you better go back and look at Grenada if you want to know about the Island of Dr. Moreau in the Caribbean. I don't even know where to go with this stuff. Like I said, I could sit and talk for the next 8 hours and talk about stuff that's scary to me. It's frightening to me, the implications of how far gone the human race really is. And unfortunately, there's not going to be anything coming to help us. Jesus is not coming back because he was never here to start with. So it's very difficult to make a big comeback when you've never been anywhere to start with. Right. And so it's just horrible when I understand where Judaism really came from, where the religion called Judaism actually, in fact, really came from, and where Islam actually, in fact, really came from, and what Christianity actually is. It's in your face, but you just don't see it. And that's why the scripture has the metaphor, where it has Jesus saying, many will look with their eyes, but do not see. And they will listen with their ears, but do not hear. And with the heart, they do not get the sense of it. But it's coming. What they've done to me, they will do to you. I am the truth and the light. No man comes to the Father unless he comes through me, which is quite simply saying, when you start seeing all of these things happening, don't go calling to God, because you're so full of BS and stupidity that no God is going to listen to you. So if no man comes to the Father unless he comes through me, the truth and the light. So unless you are ready to look at the real truth of who your wife really is, who your children really are, and who owns this earth, and the demonic depravity that owns this earth, unless you are ready to view the truth in the light, then don't talk to God. You don't have it yet. Take your silly religion and go watch your basketball game. You want to talk to God? You want to deal with the divine? Then I want the truth. And you can't handle the truth. The stupidity of the human race, but we have all been led into this by extraterrestrial, otherworld entities. Our world is controlled from outside influences.